Welcome to Audiobook segment. Every story you'll hear is crafted from the ground up, written, produced, and narrated entirely by us. Nothing recycled, nothing repurposed, just original work made for this channel. So grab your headphones, settle in, and enjoy today's audiobook. Have you ever felt like life hit you so hard that you couldn't breathe for a moment? Maybe you failed at something you gave your all to. Maybe someone you trusted walked away, or maybe the dream you held so close to your heart fell apart right in front of you. We've all been there, moments where everything feels lost, and the voice in your head whispers, maybe this is the end. But what if it's not the end at all? What if it's the beginning of your greatest comeback? Welcome to Turning Setbacks into Comebacks, an audiobook about rediscovering your strength when life knocks you down. This isn't just about motivation, it's about transformation. It's about learning how to rebuild yourself, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever before. Because true success doesn't come from never falling, it comes from rising every single time you do. In this audiobook, we'll explore how to turn failure into fuel, pain into purpose, and loss into lessons. You'll learn how to reframe your struggles, shift your mindset, and take action even when everything feels impossible. By the end, you won't just believe that a comeback is possible, you'll know exactly how to make it happen. Before we begin, if you enjoy stories of growth, resilience, and the power of mindset, make sure to subscribe to our audiobook channel. Your support helps us create more powerful stories like this. Stories that remind you that no matter how far you fall, you always have the power to rise again. So take a deep breath, let go of the past for a moment, and get ready to rediscover the fighter within you, because this is your time to turn setbacks into comebacks. Chapter 1. When the fall feels final. There comes a moment in every person's life when everything seems to fall apart. It could be the loss of a job you thought would define your future. It could be the end of a relationship that once made you feel whole. Or maybe it's simply waking up one morning and realizing that the dream you've been chasing no longer feels within reach. The silence after a setback can be louder than any noise in the world. It's the kind of silence that makes you question your worth, your choices, and even your purpose. In those moments, it's easy to believe the story your mind tells you, that you've failed, that this is the end, that there's no coming back. The pain feels permanent. The disappointment feels like a shadow that follows you everywhere. You replay the mistakes over and over again in your mind, wishing you could go back and change something, anything. But the truth is, setbacks aren't the end of the story. They're just the pause between two chapters, the fall before the rise. When people think about success, they often imagine a straight line going upward, a perfect climb with no stumbles or breaks. But life isn't built that way. Success is messy. It's uneven. It's full of stops and starts, wins and losses, highs and lows. And yet every person who has ever achieved something meaningful has faced moments when they thought it was over. The difference between those who stay down and those who rise again isn't talent, luck, or timing. It's mindset. A comeback begins the moment you decide to stop seeing yourself as a victim of your story and start seeing yourself as the author of it. That single shift from "why is this happening to me" to "what is this teaching me" is what separates defeat from growth. It's not about pretending that the pain doesn't exist. It's about choosing to see meaning within it. Think about a seed for a moment. Before it becomes a tree, it has to be buried in darkness. It sits under the soil, unseen, untouched, surrounded by pressure. To the outside world, it looks like nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, something powerful is taking place. The seed is breaking open. And only when it breaks does it begin to grow. Your setbacks are like that, not endings but beginnings disguised as loss. When life pushes you down, the world expects you to stay there. But what if, instead of giving up, you took that as your training ground? What if every challenge was a test, shaping you into the person capable of handling what you once dreamed of. A comeback doesn't start with applause or recognition. It starts in silence, in those lonely moments when you're face down and you whisper to yourself, "Not yet. I'm not done." Failure isn't final unless you accept it as final. Some of the greatest stories in history began with defeat. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first television job. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. They weren't superhuman. They simply refused to let the fall define them. They decided to rise again. And that decision changed everything. Maybe right now you're standing in the middle of your own storm. Maybe you've lost something that meant the world to you. Maybe you've tried and it still feels like nothing's working. That's okay. You're not alone. Every successful person you admire has stood exactly where you are, unsure, broken, and afraid. But here's the secret they discovered. Pain can either break you or build you, and the choice is always yours. When we experience failure, our instinct is to retreat, to protect ourselves from more disappointment. We hide behind excuses. We distract ourselves. We tell ourselves we'll try again someday. But the truth is, healing doesn't come from waiting. It comes from moving, even when it hurts. Because the act of moving forward, no matter how small the step, tells your heart that the story isn't over. The first step in turning a setback into a comeback is acceptance. Not acceptance that you've lost, but acceptance that this is where you are right now. Denial keeps you stuck. Acceptance opens the door to change. When you accept your reality, you take back your power. You stop fighting against what happened and start focusing on what you can do next. Sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is to face your reflection and say, "I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not giving up." That statement may seem small, but it's powerful. It's the beginning of momentum. The moment you start to rise, because once you accept where you are, you can begin to rebuild. Rebuilding doesn't mean rushing back to your old self. It means becoming someone new, someone stronger, wiser, more grounded. It's about using the pain as a foundation for growth. The person you'll become after a setback will not be the same person you were before, and that's a good thing, because the one who rises from the ashes is always tougher than the one who fell into them. Every comeback begins quietly, in the heart of someone who refuses to let the story end in defeat. Maybe the world won't notice your effort at first. Maybe no one will clap for you. But that's not why you do it. You do it because deep down, you know there's more inside you. You know this fall isn't where your story ends. The road back will not be easy. You'll doubt yourself, you'll stumble again. But each time you rise, you'll find that the ground feels a little more stable beneath your feet. You'll start to see progress where there was once only pain, and one day, without even realizing it, you'll look back and realize that what once broke you actually built you. A comeback doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, one that begins with a decision, fueled by faith and sustained by persistence. So if you're listening to this right now and wondering if it's too late, let me remind you, it's never too late to start again. The moment you choose to rise, your comeback begins. Chapter 2. The shift that changes everything. Every comeback begins with one small moment, the moment you decide to see your situation differently. Nothing on the outside has changed yet. The job is still gone. The dream is still broken. The pain is still real. But something inside you begins to whisper, maybe this isn't the end. Maybe there's something I can learn from this. That whisper is where your comeback begins. Most people wait for their circumstances to change before they feel better. They think, if I just get another chance, if I just get lucky, if someone helps me, then I'll rise again. But waiting for the world to fix you keeps you The real shift happens when you stop waiting and start working, not on the world, but on your mind. Your mindset is the lens through which you see everything. A negative mindset turns small problems into mountains. A strong mindset turns mountains into steps. The same event can break one person and build another. The difference is not in what happens, but in how each person thinks about it. Let's imagine two people who lose their jobs on the same day. The first person says, "I'm worthless. No one will ever hire me again." The second person says, "This hurts, but maybe it's time to find something that fits me better." Same situation, different story. The first person stays stuck in self-pity. The second person starts building a new chapter. That difference, the space between reaction and response, is everything. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control what you make it mean. And that meaning determines whether you stay down or rise again. When you're hit with a setback, your mind goes into survival mode. It starts feeding you thoughts like, "You're not good enough," or "You'll never recover." These thoughts feel true, but they're not facts. They're fear speaking. Fear tries to protect you from pain by convincing you to stop trying. It tells you that staying still is safe. But in truth, standing still is the most dangerous thing you can do. Because the longer you stay there, the heavier the weight becomes. To rise again, you must first challenge your own thoughts. When fear says, "You can't," answer back, "Why not?" When failure says, "You're done," whisper, "Not yet." You don't have to believe in yourself completely at first. You just need to be willing to question the lies your fear tells you. That small act of courage is how transformation begins. People often think strong minds are born, but they're built. Strength is built in moments when you could break, but don't. Every time you face a challenge and choose to move forward, your mind becomes a little stronger. The pain that once felt unbearable starts to lose its power over you. You begin to realize that the fear was never bigger than you. It just felt that way when you were on the ground. Think of your mindset like a muscle. You don't build it by avoiding pressure. You build it by facing it. A muscle only grows through resistance. The same is true for your mind. The setbacks you face are the weights that shape your strength. Without them, there would be no growth. Every no, every rejection, every failure adds another layer to your mental toughness. So instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" That one question can change your life. Because every challenge carries a lesson, and that lesson is the seed of your comeback. When you look at life through this lens, even pain starts to have purpose. Losing something teaches you what truly matters. Failing at something teaches you where to improve. Being rejected teaches you resilience. Pain becomes a teacher, not a punishment. But here's the truth most people miss. Mindset isn't built in the good times. It's forged in the fire. When everything is easy, there's no reason to grow. It's the struggle that stretches you. It's the challenge that reveals who you really are. If you look back on your life, you'll see that your greatest lessons didn't come from success. They came from the moments you thought you couldn't go on, but did. Every scar, every heartbreak, every disappointment shaped you into the person you are now, and the person you are now has everything it takes to rise again. There's a story of a young athlete who tore his knee during training. Everyone told him his career was over. For months, he couldn't walk without pain. At first, he fell into despair, but one day he decided that if he couldn't train his body, he would train his mind. Every morning, he visualized himself running, jumping, and competing again. He refused to let his situation define him. When he finally healed, his comeback wasn't just physical, it was mental. He came back stronger, faster, and more focused than before. That's the power of mindset. When you decide that failure won't have the final word, it loses control over you. You start making choices from strength, not fear, and little by little, your life begins to shift. You can't wait to feel confident to take action. Confidence doesn't come before action, it comes from it. Each small step you take builds evidence that you're capable. Every time you get back up, you teach your mind that you're resilient, and soon, What once felt impossible starts to feel natural. Maybe right now, you're standing in front of a closed door. You've knocked, you've waited, and no one's opening. It's easy to think that means you're not meant to walk through it. But sometimes, life closes a door not to reject you, but to redirect you. The closed door might be the universe's way of saying, there's something better ahead, but you won't find it if you stay here. Shifting your mindset doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It means being honest about the pain, but refusing to let it define your identity. It means saying, yes, this hurts, but it won't break me. It's choosing to rise, even when you're still trembling. When you start thinking this way, everything changes. You stop chasing perfection and start embracing progress. You stop needing validation from others and start finding strength within. You begin to trust that every fall has a purpose, even if you can't see it yet. The truth is, life will keep testing you. Every new level brings new challenges, but when you build a mindset of growth, you stop fearing the tests. You begin to welcome them because you know that each one is shaping you into the person you're meant to become. Your comeback doesn't begin with motivation. It begins with mindset. Motivation fades, mindset sustains. Motivation gets you started, mindset keeps you going. When your reason is strong enough, the how always appears. So if you're listening to this right now, take a deep breath and remind yourself, I am not broken. I am becoming. Every thought you choose, every belief you build, every perspective you shift, they're all steps in your comeback story. The fall may have been hard, but it doesn't define you. What defines you is your decision to rise, to grow, to keep moving forward. Because the person who refuses to quit will always find a way back, stronger than before. Chapter 3. Taking the first step forward. Every comeback begins with movement. Not a giant leap, not a perfect plan, just one step. It might be a small one, shaky and uncertain, but it matters, because once you move, even a little, you break the illusion that you're stuck. And that first step, that quiet, trembling moment when you choose to rise, is the start of everything. After a setback, it's easy to feel paralyzed. You replay what went wrong, the things you said, the things you didn't do, the chances you missed. You think, what if I fail again? Or what if it gets worse this time? Fear becomes a heavy blanket that keeps you from trying again. But here's the truth. Staying still won't make the pain go away. It only keeps you trapped in it. The way out is through movement. Healing begins when you take that first step. Sometimes, that step is as simple as getting out of bed when your heart feels heavy. Sometimes, it's sending an email, making a call, or writing down a plan. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real, because progress doesn't come from perfection. It comes from action. You can't steer a parked car, and you can't build momentum if you never start. When you take that first step, your mind will resist. It will whisper, "What's the point?" It will remind you of your last failure. It will bring up every reason why you should wait a little longer. That voice isn't truth, it's protection. Your brain is trying to keep you safe from pain by avoiding risk, but comfort zones don't create comebacks. Growth begins the moment you move beyond them. The first step after a fall is never glamorous. There's no spotlight, no applause, no cheering crowd. It's usually quiet, lonely, and full of doubt. But that's exactly what makes it powerful, because it's in those private, unseen moments, when no one's watching, and you still choose to move, that real strength is born. Think of it like learning to walk again after an injury. You don't start by running, you start by standing, then you take one step, then another. Each movement feels strange at first. Your body resists, your balance wobbles, and your mind questions everything. But you keep going, because with every step, your confidence grows. You start to believe again. And that belief is what transforms the impossible. Here's something most people forget. Confidence doesn't come before action. It grows through action. You don't wait to feel ready. You become ready by doing. Every small win builds momentum. Every little success adds a drop of fuel to your fire. Over time, those small victories become your comeback story. There's a powerful quote that says, "Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, 'I will try again tomorrow.'" That's what the first step is. Not loud, not dramatic, just consistent effort fueled by faith. You don't have to know what the whole road looks like. You just need to see the next step clearly enough to take it. When you start moving again, people might doubt you. They might say, "You've tried before, and it didn't work." They might not understand your drive. That's okay. This journey isn't about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right. You're not competing with anyone else's timeline or definition of success. You're rebuilding from within, and rebuilding takes time. You'll take steps forward, and sometimes you'll slip backward. That's part of the process. A comeback isn't a straight climb. It's a dance between progress and patience. Some days you'll feel unstoppable. Others you'll feel broken again. But every time you choose to get up, you're winning. Let's talk about something important: forgiveness. Before you can move forward, you have to let go of the weight you've been carrying. Not just anger toward others, but the guilt and shame you hold toward yourself. Maybe you made mistakes. Maybe you gave up when you shouldn't have. Maybe you hurt people while you were hurting. But dragging those memories with you will only keep you stuck in the past. Forgive yourself for not being perfect. Forgive yourself for falling apart. Forgive yourself for the time you lost. You can't rewrite what's behind you, but you can decide what comes next. And that decision, to forgive, to release, to move, is one of the bravest steps you'll ever take. When you forgive, you make room for growth. The space that was once filled with regret becomes filled with possibility. You stop replaying the old story and start writing a new one. You start to feel lighter, clearer, more focused. That's when real momentum begins to build. Now imagine a runner at the starting line after an injury. The world is watching, waiting to see if he'll stumble again. But as he looks down the track, he isn't thinking about the crowd. He isn't thinking about the pain. He's thinking about the pain. He's thinking about the pain. He's thinking about that first stride, the first push forward, because once he takes it, everything changes. The body remembers, the spirit awakens. The comeback begins. You are that runner. The world doesn't need you to be perfect. It just needs you to take that first stride. And once you do, momentum will follow. Your comeback doesn't require confidence, it requires commitment. The confidence will come later, but only if you keep showing up. There's something magical about motion. Even when it's small, it builds energy. It sends a message to your subconscious mind: I'm moving forward now, and your mind in return begins to shift. It starts to look for possibilities instead of problems. It starts to see solutions where before it only saw struggle. That's how change begins, not through massive leaps, but through small, steady steps powered by persistence. Here's the truth: the world won't wait until you feel ready. Opportunities rarely show up when you're completely prepared. They appear when you're brave enough to take imperfect action. And that's what separates dreamers from doers. Not talent, not luck, but the willingness to start before the fear disappears. So if you're listening to this and thinking, I'm not ready, remember this: no one ever is. Every person who's ever rebuilt their life started with fear in their chest and doubt in their mind, but they acted anyway. And that's why they made it through. You don't overcome fear by waiting for it to leave. You overcome it by walking through it. When you start moving, life begins to meet you halfway. Doors start to open. People start to appear. The path starts to unfold. It won't always make sense, but that's part of the beauty, because every comeback has an element of mystery. The way small steps lead to big transformations you never could have planned. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize something powerful. The first step wasn't just the beginning of your comeback, it was the moment you decided to believe in yourself again. It was the moment you remembered who you are. The fall may have shaken you. It may have changed everything you knew, but it didn't destroy you. Because here you are, still standing, still breathing, still trying. And as long as you're trying, your story isn't over. So take the step. Don't wait for perfect. Don't wait for the fear to fade. Don't wait for someone to tell you it's time. The time is now, because every comeback begins the same way, with one brave step forward. Chapter 4. Rebuilding self-belief and inner strength. When you've been knocked down, it's easy to lose faith in yourself. You start to wonder if you're even capable anymore. If you still have what it takes, your mind plays tricks on you. It reminds you of every mistake, every failure, every word of doubt you've ever heard, and slowly, your belief in yourself fades. But here's the truth. Your self-belief was never gone. It was only buried under pain, disappointment, and fear. And like anything buried, it can be uncovered again. Rebuilding self-belief isn't about pretending everything's fine. It's about facing what broke you, learning from it, and deciding that your past doesn't define your future. Because confidence doesn't come from always winning. It comes from surviving what should have destroyed you and realizing you're still standing. When you fall, you lose trust, not just in others, but in yourself. You start to second-guess every choice. Maybe I don't make good decisions. Maybe I'm not good enough. These thoughts sound small, but they are powerful. They shape how you see yourself and what you think you deserve. The first step to rebuilding self-belief is awareness. You have to notice those thoughts instead of letting them control you. When your mind says, "You can't," pause and ask, "Is that true, or is that fear talking?" Most of the time it's fear. Fear dresses up as logic. It sounds smart, reasonable, even protective. But deep down, it's just trying to keep you small. You can't silence fear completely, but you can choose not to let it lead your life. Self-belief grows when you act despite fear, when you show yourself proof that you're capable. Start small, keep promises to yourself. Wake up when you said you would. Finish that small task you've been avoiding. Speak kindly to yourself once a day. Every time you do what you said you'd do, your brain learns, "I can trust myself." That's where confidence is born, not from success, but from self-trust. Because when you trust yourself, failure doesn't break you anymore. You know you'll find a way through. You stop needing the world's approval to feel worthy. You stop chasing validation. You realize that your worth isn't based on how people see you, it's based on how you see yourself. Let's be honest, rebuilding yourself is lonely work. No one else can do it for you. People can support you, but they can't carry you. You have to face your reflection and say, "I'm starting again." And that takes courage, the kind that doesn't shout but whispers, "I'm still here." One of the most powerful ways to rebuild your inner strength is through self-compassion. Most of us are kinder to others than we are to ourselves. We forgive others quickly, but punish ourselves endlessly. We call ourselves names we would never call a friend. We expect perfection and feel worthless when we fall short. But you cannot hate yourself into becoming better. You can only grow through understanding and patience. When you talk to yourself with kindness, something shifts inside. The walls start to come down. The healing begins. And slowly your inner voice, the one that used to doubt, becomes your ally instead of your enemy. Here's a truth that surprises people. Strength doesn't mean never breaking. It means learning how to rebuild every time you do. You've already survived moments that could have ended you. You've already carried weights that others never saw. You've been tired and still showed up. That's real strength. Don't underestimate the quiet power of resilience. It doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's just breathing through pain and saying, "I'll try again tomorrow." You are stronger than you think. Not because life has been easy, but because it hasn't. Every scar, every tear, every hard lesson, they've all built you. They've carved depth into your soul and taught you empathy, patience, and courage. But here's the secret. You must learn to own your story. Stop hiding your past as if it's something to be ashamed of. The things you've overcome are proof of your strength. They're not your weakness. They're your wisdom. When you own your story, it loses power over you. You start to control the narrative instead of being controlled by it. You begin to say, yes, I failed, but I learned. Yes, I fell, but I rose. That's the foundation of true confidence, not perfection, but ownership. To rebuild inner strength, you also need boundaries. When you don't have boundaries, you give too much of yourself away, your time, your energy, your peace. You start saying yes when you mean no. You carry other people's burdens until you're empty. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're sacred. They protect your energy so you can heal, rebuild, and grow. Saying no doesn't make you cold. It makes you wise, because not every battle deserves your energy, and not every opinion deserves your attention. Every strong person you admire has one thing in common. They protect their peace. They know that strength doesn't come from doing everything. It comes from knowing what's worth doing. Another key part of rebuilding self-belief is remembering why you started. Your purpose is your anchor. When life shakes you, your purpose keeps you steady. Ask yourself, what do I want my life to mean? What kind of person do I want to become? When you reconnect with your why, your fire reignites. Suddenly, every struggle feels meaningful again. You realize you're not just surviving, you're evolving. Purpose gives strength to your steps. It turns obstacles into lessons, pain into growth, and effort into transformation. Now let's talk about something that often goes unnoticed. Celebrating progress. Most people only celebrate big wins. But if you only clap for the finish line, you'll miss the beauty of the race. Celebrate the small wins, the moments you didn't quit, the days you showed up tired, the nights you cried but didn't give up. Those moments are the real victories. Because that's where character is built. Every time you acknowledge your progress, no matter how small, you send yourself a message, I'm growing. And that message becomes the foundation of unshakable belief. Here's something powerful to remember. Self-belief isn't loud. It doesn't brag. It's calm, steady, and quiet. It's the voice that says, I know who I am, and I trust where I'm going. When you reach that level of inner peace, no one can take it away. Because your confidence is no longer tied to outcomes. It's rooted in who you are becoming. You don't have to be fearless to be strong. You just have to keep moving, even when fear walks beside you. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to keep believing that you'll figure it out along the way. You've fallen, but that doesn't mean you've failed. Failure isn't the end. It's feedback. It's life's way of teaching you what doesn't work so you can find what does. And the beautiful thing about rebuilding is that every version of you is wiser, braver, and more grounded than the one before. So, rebuild slowly, forgive deeply, believe fiercely, because one day you'll look back and realize that losing everything didn't destroy you. It introduced you to your true power. The power to rise, the power to rebuild, the power to believe again. And when that happens, you won't just trust yourself, you'll know yourself. And that kind of belief can move mountains. Chapter 5. Turning pain into purpose. Pain. It's a word everyone knows, but few truly understand, because pain isn't just physical. It's emotional, mental, spiritual. It's the kind of ache that sits quietly inside you, shaping how you see yourself and the world around you. At first, pain feels like the end. It feels like your world has collapsed, like nothing will ever feel right again. You question everything, your choices, your dreams, even your worth. You wonder why it happened to you. You start to believe maybe life just isn't fair. But here's the thing, Pain, as unbearable as it feels, is often the beginning of transformation. It's life's way of breaking you open so you can rebuild stronger, wiser, and more connected to your true purpose. Most people try to escape pain. They numb it, deny it, or run from it. But the truth is, the only way to heal pain is to walk through it. You can't grow through something you refuse to feel. When you sit with your pain, when you allow yourself to feel it instead of fighting it, something powerful happens. You begin to understand it. You begin to see the lessons it carries. Every pain has a message. Every heartbreak, every failure, every loss, it's trying to show you something. Maybe it's teaching you patience. Maybe it's showing you what really matters. Maybe it's revealing your strength. When you stop asking why me and start asking what is this teaching me, that's the moment your pain starts to turn into purpose. Think about the strongest people you know, the ones who inspire you, the ones who seem unshakable. Every one of them has a story, a chapter filled with pain. But instead of letting it destroy them, they turned it into fuel. That's what purpose really is. It's pain that's been given meaning. You see, pain can either break you or build you. It depends on how you hold it. If you hold it with bitterness, it becomes poison. If you hold it with understanding, it becomes power. Let's take a simple truth. No one chooses pain, but you can choose what pain makes of you. You can choose to let it make you softer, kinder, more understanding, or you can let it make you bitter and closed off. When you choose growth, your pain becomes a teacher. It's not your enemy anymore. It becomes your guide. Many people say, everything happens for a reason, but that's not always true. Some pain doesn't make sense. Some losses don't have a reason. But what's always true is this. You can give your pain a reason. You can decide what it means. You can decide how it changes you. You can choose to make it count for something. Maybe your pain will make you help others. Maybe it will push you to chase your dream. Maybe it will teach you compassion. Maybe it will remind you that life is short and every moment matters. When you turn pain into purpose, you take back control. You stop being a victim of your story and you become the author of it. Let's imagine this. There's a seed buried deep under the soil. It's dark, cold, and alone. The seed might think it's been buried to die, but in truth, it's been planted to grow. That's what pain does to us. It buries us for a while, but only so we can grow roots. And one day, when we're ready, we rise stronger and more beautiful than before. Your pain isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's shaping you for the next chapter of your life, one that you couldn't live without the lessons of this one. When you've been through deep pain, you begin to see people differently. You become gentler, more patient. You stop judging so quickly, because you know how it feels to hurt. You understand that everyone is fighting battles you can't see, and that understanding, that empathy becomes your power. Sometimes your purpose isn't found in what you gain, but in what you survive. If you've lost someone you love, maybe your purpose is to honor them by living fully. If you've been betrayed, maybe your purpose is to help others heal from the same pain. If you've failed, maybe your purpose is to teach others how to rise again. Pain doesn't destroy your purpose, it refines it. There's a fire inside pain. And when you learn to walk through it without losing your hope, you come out on the other side glowing, not burned but transformed. But here's something you must understand. Turning pain into purpose takes time. Healing is not a straight line. Some days you'll feel strong, other days you'll fall apart. That's okay. Growth isn't about never falling. It's about always getting up again. You don't have to have it all figured out right now. Just keep moving forward. One breath, one step, one small act of courage at a time. Every small act of courage adds up. One day you'll look back and realize you've built something beautiful out of the very thing that tried to break you. When you look at your scars, don't hide them. They're proof that you've lived, learned, and overcome. They're not marks of weakness, they're marks of victory. In fact, your scars are your story, and your story can become someone else's survival guide. When you share your journey, your voice gives others hope. And that's what purpose does. It turns personal pain into collective strength. There will be moments when you still feel the sting of what you've lost. That's normal. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering without breaking. It means smiling through the memories that once made you cry. That's when you know your pain has transformed. It no longer controls you. It fuels you. Every setback, every heartbreak, every disappointment, they were all training you. They were shaping your heart, building your faith, sharpening your vision. You were never being destroyed. You were being refined. Your story isn't over because of your pain. In fact, this is where the story gets powerful. This is where you rise, stronger than before, clearer than before, more alive than before. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become because of it. So, stop running from your pain. Face it, feel it, learn from it, then turn it into purpose. Because the moment you decide that your pain will no longer control you, that's the moment you take your power back. And when you use that power to make a difference, no matter how small, your pain becomes sacred. It becomes the bridge between who you were and who you're meant to be. Life isn't about avoiding pain. It's about transforming it. It's about finding meaning in the mess. So, whatever you're going through, don't let it harden you. Let it shape you. Let it make you wiser, stronger, and more compassionate. Because one day, you'll look back and realize your pain was never the end of your story. It was the beginning of your purpose. Chapter 6. The Power of Perspective. Life is full of moments that test you. Moments that challenge what you believe, what you expect, and how you see yourself. Sometimes it's not the situation that breaks you. It's the way you see it. The difference between someone who gives up and someone who grows often comes down to one thing: perspective. Perspective is how you choose to look at the world. It's how you interpret what happens to you. Two people can go through the same struggle, lose the same job, face the same rejection, or endure the same pain, and yet one becomes bitter while the other becomes stronger. The difference isn't what happened, it's how they saw what happened. Most people think life is about what happens to them. But real growth begins when you realize life is more about how you respond to what happens. You can't always control your circumstances, but you can always control your perspective. And that single choice can change everything. When you're in the middle of a setback, it's easy to see only the loss. You see the doors that closed, the chances that slipped away, the pain that lingers. But if you can shift your perspective, you'll start to notice something else. The strength you're gaining, the lessons you're learning, the patience you're developing. Every storm hides a seed of growth. The question is whether you'll look for it. Think about a rainstorm. When you're caught in it, it feels uncomfortable, wet, even miserable. But that same rain is what nourishes the ground, makes the flowers bloom, and gives life to the world. What feels like discomfort in one moment might be the foundation of growth in the next. It all depends on how you see it. When you shift your perspective, you take back your power. You stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as a survivor. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this preparing me for? That shift doesn't erase the pain, but it gives the pain purpose. Imagine climbing a mountain. From the bottom, all you see are rocks, dirt, and the steep slope ahead. It's exhausting. It feels endless. But once you reach the top, everything looks different. The same climb that once felt like punishment now feels like proof. Proof of your endurance, proof of your strength. The climb didn't change, your perspective did. Perspective gives meaning to struggle. It allows you to look at the hardest moments in your life and say, this may have hurt me, but it also helped me. You start to realize that pain and purpose are often two sides of the same coin. You can't have one without the other. Here's the truth most people miss. How you see your situation determines what you'll get from it. If you see your failure as the end, it becomes the end. But if you see it as feedback, as a lesson, it becomes a beginning. Every experience, good or bad, carries something valuable inside it. The key is to look for it. Let's talk about something powerful, the mind's ability to reframe. Reframing means changing how you interpret a situation so that it empowers you instead of limiting you. For example, instead of saying, "I failed," you can say, "I learned something that will make me better next time." Instead of thinking, "I lost everything," you can say, "I'm clearing space for something new." It's not about pretending that pain doesn't exist. It's about choosing not to let pain be the final word. Every person you admire, every leader, every creator, every survivor has learned how to reframe pain. They've trained their minds to find meaning in the mess. They don't see failure as a wall, they see it as a mirror, reflecting what they need to learn before they can move forward. Perspective is like the lens of a camera. If the lens is dirty, the picture looks unclear. But when you clean it, the same scene becomes beautiful. Life is the same. The clearer your perspective, the more meaning you find in what you experience. When something goes wrong, the easy response is frustration. You tell yourself, "This shouldn't have happened." You blame yourself or others. You focus on everything that went wrong. But when you take a step back, when you zoom out, you often see that the setback was just one small part of a much bigger story. Maybe losing that job pushed you toward your true calling. Maybe that heartbreak made space for real love. Maybe that failure gave you the humility to grow. What felt like rejection in the moment might have been redirection all along. The universe often removes things not to punish you, but to prepare you. You just have to trust that the story isn't finished yet. Trust is a big part of perspective. You can't see the whole picture while you're still inside the storm, but when you look back, things start to make sense. You begin to realize that some of your worst days were actually the foundation of your best days. Every setback, every disappointment, every delay, they all played a part in shaping you. If you can hold on to that truth, you'll never stay down for long. Because you'll understand that what's happening to you is not happening against you, it's happening for you. When you change your perspective, you also change your energy. You start to attract new opportunities because you're not operating from fear anymore. You're moving from faith. You're no longer saying, "I hope things get better." You're saying, "I'm becoming better," and that will change things. It's easy to be grateful when life goes your way. But real strength is found when you can be grateful even when it doesn't. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's still here. It reminds you that even in hard times, there's always something to hold on to, a lesson, a relationship, a new beginning waiting to unfold. You might not control the events of your life, but you can always control the story you tell about them. You can choose to tell a story of defeat, or you can tell a story of growth. The event is the same, only the meaning changes, and that meaning shapes everything you do next. Perspective also helps you find peace. When you understand that life isn't always fair, but it's always meaningful, you stop fighting every difficulty. You start flowing with it. You start trusting that even when you can't see the reason, there is one. Here's something to remember. Your mind will always find what it's looking for. If you look for pain, you'll find pain. If you look for possibility, you'll find possibility. That's the power of perspective. It becomes your reality. Sometimes the shift happens quietly. One morning you wake up and realize the thing that used to hurt doesn't control you anymore. You still remember it, but it doesn't define you. That's growth. That's wisdom. That's freedom. When you change how you see things, you also change how you live. You stop waiting for perfect conditions to start again. You stop seeing mistakes as the end. You stop fearing the unknown. Because now you understand everything that happens for your evolution. Your past didn't happen to destroy you. It happened to prepare you. And your comeback doesn't depend on circumstances, it depends on perspective. So the next time life knocks you down, pause, take a breath, ask yourself, what could this be teaching me? Then listen, because the answer will guide you toward your next chapter, one that's not built on pain, but on power. You can't always control what happens, but you can always control how you see it. And when you master that, you become unstoppable. Because the truth is, perspective doesn't just change how you see your story, it changes how your story ends. Chapter 7. Rebuilding Confidence After Failure. Failure. The word alone can make your stomach tighten and your heart race. It's uncomfortable, it's humbling, and yet it's inevitable. Everyone experiences it, everyone falls short, everyone faces moments where they feel they've lost. But here's the secret, failure doesn't define you. How you respond to it does. And at the center of that response lies confidence, your belief in yourself. After a failure, confidence often feels like a distant memory. You remember the times you felt sure of yourself, but now they seem unreachable. Doubt creeps in. You replay the events, thinking about what went wrong, what you should have done differently, and why you weren't good enough. These thoughts are natural, but they can also trap you. The key is not to eliminate them entirely, but to change the way you respond to them. Rebuilding confidence after failure is like rebuilding a house after a storm. The structure may be damaged, the roof might leak, and the walls may be cracked. But the foundation is still there. You don't start from scratch. You strengthen the parts that remain, repair the broken pieces, and then gradually build something stronger than before. The first step is acceptance. Accept that you failed. Accept that mistakes happened. Acceptance doesn't mean you approve of the outcome. It simply means you stop fighting reality. When you resist the truth of what happened, you waste energy that could be used for rebuilding. But when you accept it, you gain clarity. You see exactly where you stand and what needs to change. Next comes reflection. Reflecting on failure is not the same as dwelling on it. Dwelling keeps you stuck. Reflection gives you insight. Ask yourself, what lessons can I learn? What patterns do I notice? Where could I have acted differently? Reflection is like taking a map to a city you're trying to navigate. It shows you the routes you didn't see before. But reflection alone isn't enough. Confidence grows through action. You can think, plan, and analyze endlessly, but until you start doing, your belief in yourself remains fragile. Taking small steps toward improvement is the bridge between doubt and self-assurance. Each completed task, each tiny success, is a brick that rebuilds your inner strength. It's also essential to change the way you define success. After a failure, you might feel like you're starting over. But in reality, every attempt, every mistake, every setback has added to your experience. Confidence isn't about never failing, it's about understanding that each failure is a lesson and a stepping stone. Start by setting small, achievable goals. When you accomplish these, your mind begins to remember what it's capable of. Confidence is cumulative. It grows gradually as you prove to yourself, over and over, that you can handle challenges. Self-talk plays a massive role in rebuilding confidence. After failure, it's easy to criticize yourself harshly. You might say, "I'll never get this right," or "I'm just not good enough." But these statements are lies your fear is telling you. Replace them with affirmations grounded in truth. Say things like, "I am learning, I can improve, I am capable of growth." Your words shape your beliefs. Speak kindly to yourself, and your confidence will follow. Another powerful tool is preparation. Confidence is not blind optimism, it's earned through readiness. The more you practice, plan, and prepare, the more secure you feel in your abilities. Preparation doesn't guarantee success, but it does give you the courage to face uncertainty with resilience. Failure often feels isolating, but seeking support can help. Surround yourself with people who encourage and believe in you. Their belief can remind you of your own potential when your self-doubt grows loud. Mentors, friends, or even inspirational stories can serve as mirrors, reflecting back the strength you may have forgotten. Rebuilding confidence also requires patience. It doesn't return overnight. Some days you'll feel strong and capable. Other days, old doubts may resurface. That's natural. Growth is not linear. It's a journey with peaks and valleys, and each valley you navigate reinforces your resilience. Visualization is another effective technique. Imagine yourself succeeding. Picture the steps you'll take, the challenges you'll overcome, the confidence radiating from within. Visualization prepares your mind and body to act as though you are already capable, making the transition from doubt to self-belief smoother. Resilience is inseparable from confidence. Every time you stand up after falling, you strengthen the neural pathways in your brain that reinforce self-trust. The more you face adversity, the more your confidence becomes rooted in reality, not wishful thinking. It's also crucial to celebrate progress. Too often, people ignore small victories, waiting for the big win to validate their abilities. But confidence is built on small wins. Completing a task, speaking up when you're nervous, trying again after a setback, these moments compound over time, creating an unshakable foundation. Remember, confidence is not arrogance. It's not about proving others wrong or boasting about your achievements. True confidence is quiet, steady, and self-sustaining. It comes from knowing your value, recognizing your growth, and trusting your ability to face challenges no matter what life throws your way. Let's also discuss failure reframing. Instead of seeing failure as a verdict, see it as feedback. Every failed attempt is information, data on what works, what doesn't, and how to improve. Reframing failure reduces fear and encourages experimentation. The more you try, the more confident you become. Another key is embracing action, not perfection. Too often, fear of failing again prevents people from starting. But action itself rebuilds confidence. Even imperfect action demonstrates that you are capable of progress, that mistakes are not the end, and that growth is ongoing. Finally, remember that your past failures do not define your future. Every expert, every successful person, every resilient individual has faced setbacks. Their confidence grew not from never failing, but from continually choosing to try again, to learn, and to move forward. Confidence rebuilt after failure is stronger than confidence that has never been tested. It is tempered by experience, grounded in reality, and unshakable in the face of adversity. So, the next time you fail, don't hide, don't withdraw, don't despair. Reflect, learn, take small steps, celebrate progress, speak kindly to yourself, prepare, visualize, seek support, and most importantly, act. Because confidence is not something you find, it's something you rebuild, brick by brick, moment by moment, through perseverance, courage, and self-belief. And once you do, you will discover a remarkable truth. Every failure was not a defeat, but a lesson leading you back to yourself, stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. Chapter 8: Creating Momentum. After a setback. Setbacks are part of life. Everyone faces them. No one is exempt, but the difference between those who remain stuck and those who rise is momentum. Momentum is the force that keeps you moving forward, even when obstacles appear. It's what turns small steps into giant leaps. And the good news is, momentum can be created, intentionally, deliberately, and consistently. After a setback, the hardest part is often just getting started again. You might feel exhausted, defeated, or unsure. You might wonder if it's even worth trying. But here's the truth. The first action you take after a setback is the seed of momentum. Even if it's tiny, it sets the stage for everything else. Momentum isn't built in one massive push. It's built through consistent action, small, deliberate steps that accumulate over time. Imagine a snowball rolling down a hill. At first, it's small, almost invisible, but as it continues, it grows, gaining size and speed. Your actions are the same. Each choice, Each effort, each decision builds energy. That energy compounds until it carries you forward effortlessly. The first step in creating momentum is clarity. You need to know what you're moving toward. After a setback, it's easy to focus on what went wrong, but momentum requires a vision of what's next. Ask yourself, what is my next goal? What am I aiming to achieve? Where do I want to be in the coming days, weeks, months? Clarity creates direction, and direction creates speed. Once you have clarity, break your goal into small, actionable steps. These steps don't need to be huge. In fact, small steps are better. They are easier to start, easier to sustain, and less intimidating. Each small success provides proof to your mind that progress is possible, and that proof fuels your momentum. Consistency is crucial. Momentum is like a snowball in motion. It needs continuous movement to grow. If you stop too often, it loses energy. The same applies to your efforts. Keep showing up day after day, even when you don't feel like it. Progress isn't always visible immediately, but cumulative action is unstoppable. Another essential factor is mindset. After a setback, your mind tends to focus on loss, failure, and limitation. To create momentum, you must shift your focus to possibility, growth, and action. Positive reinforcement, visualization, and affirmations can help. When you train your mind to see opportunity instead of obstacle, every step forward feels lighter and more purposeful. Momentum is also about embracing imperfection. After a setback, you may feel the need to be perfect, to regain lost ground. But perfection is a trap. It slows you down, creates fear, and undermines action. Instead, focus on progress. Each imperfect action counts. Each effort, even when flawed, adds to your forward motion. One of the most powerful ways to build momentum is to celebrate small wins. These wins are like fuel. They energize your mind and body. Did you finish a task you avoided? Did you speak up when you were hesitant? Did you take the first step toward your goal? Each small win reminds your brain that you're capable, and that reminder strengthens your resolve. Surrounding yourself with supportive people also accelerates momentum. Energy is contagious. When you engage with those who encourage, inspire, and challenge you, you feed your momentum. Avoid those who drain energy or reinforce doubt. Your circle should lift you, not hold you back. Momentum thrives on learning. Setbacks often provide valuable lessons. Instead of resisting the lessons, use them. Analyze what went wrong. Adapt and adjust your approach. When you integrate lessons quickly, your momentum gains precision and purpose. It's not just movement, it's smart movement. Self-discipline is the engine of momentum. Motivation fluctuates. Some days you'll feel unstoppable, other days drained. But discipline ensures that action continues even when feelings falter. By committing to your routine, you create a rhythm that sustains forward motion. Visualization is another tool. Imagine yourself in motion, accomplishing tasks, moving closer to your goals. Picture the momentum building step by step, like energy gathering speed. Your mind begins to act as if it's already happening, making actual execution smoother. It's important to manage energy as well as action. Momentum isn't about burning out. Take care of your body, mind, and spirit. Rest, reflection, and self-care replenish your strength, ensuring that momentum doesn't stall. Energy management keeps your motion sustainable over time. Fear and doubt often appear when momentum is building. These are signals that growth is happening. Instead of letting them stop you, acknowledge them and move forward anyway. Each act, despite fear, compounds momentum further. Courage and momentum feed each other. Momentum is contagious to your own self-belief. As you see results, even small ones, your confidence grows. Confidence fuels further action. Action produces more results. Results build belief. This cycle, once started, becomes unstoppable. Sometimes setbacks may seem enormous, overwhelming, or unfair. Momentum doesn't erase the difficulty, it changes your relationship with it. With momentum, obstacles are no longer walls, but hurdles. You see them, navigate them, and continue moving forward. Keep in mind, momentum isn't about rushing, it's about steady acceleration. Pacing yourself ensures you build long-term progress rather than exhausting energy in short bursts. Sustainable momentum is stronger than speed without direction. To maintain momentum, track progress, write down your actions, check off tasks, and reflect on growth. Seeing tangible evidence of movement reinforces belief and encourages further effort. Gratitude amplifies momentum. When you appreciate your progress, even the smallest steps, your energy shifts from frustration to fulfillment. Momentum thrives when your mind is aligned with positive reinforcement. Remember, setbacks are temporary. Momentum is cumulative. Every small effort adds up, compounding into unstoppable force. A single step today may seem insignificant, but when combined with consistent action, it becomes a launchpad for transformation. Momentum is the bridge between failure and comeback. It turns despair into energy, hesitation into action, and setbacks into opportunities. Once you create it, it carries you forward, often beyond what you imagined possible. The power of momentum lies in movement itself. Every time you act, you send a message to yourself. I am capable. I can recover. I can rise. Momentum is self-reinforcing. The more you move, the more you can move. And here's the beautiful part. Once momentum begins, it's difficult to stop. It becomes part of your identity. You no longer define yourself by failure, but by action, resilience, and growth. You start to expect progress. You begin to trust that forward motion is possible, no matter the setbacks. So, after a setback, don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Start moving. Take small steps. Celebrate small wins. Reflect and adjust. Surround yourself with energy. Visualize your progress. Manage your energy. Act despite fear. Momentum is not luck. It's deliberate. It's intentional. It's your choice. And the moment you create it, you turn setbacks into stepping stones, obstacles into opportunities, and losses into comebacks. Step forward. Keep moving. Build momentum. And watch as your comeback becomes unstoppable. Chapter 9. The role of habits in comebacks. When life knocks you down, it's not just one big decision that brings you back up. It's what you do every single day. Habits are the foundation of a comeback. They may seem small, almost invisible at first, but they hold incredible power. Your habits decide whether you stay stuck in the past or build a new future. A comeback is not a one-time event. It's a process. And every process depends on consistent behavior. You can't rebuild confidence or success overnight. You build it through repetition, through routines that slowly shift your mind, your energy, and your direction. When the noise of fear or doubt gets loud, your habits act as a quiet rhythm that keeps you grounded. Think about any successful person, an athlete, an entrepreneur, a leader. What they have in common isn't luck. It's the discipline of habits. They wake up, train, learn, and repeat even when they don't feel like it. That repetition compounds. It creates momentum and resilience. After a setback, the temptation is to look for something dramatic, a big win that fixes everything. But true recovery doesn't work like that. Real comebacks are built on small, consistent actions. Each habit becomes a building block for strength, stability, and progress. Your habits shape your identity. If you want to come back stronger, you have to start acting like the person you want to become. Every choice, no matter how small, sends a message to your brain. This is who I am now. Over time, that identity becomes solid, and the new version of you starts to take shape. So how do you begin building habits that lead to a comeback? The first step is awareness. You need to understand what patterns held you back before. Maybe you procrastinated. Maybe you gave up too soon. Maybe you surrounded yourself with negative influences. Without awareness, you risk repeating the same mistakes. But once you see the pattern, you can break it. Next, start small. Extremely small. After a setback, your confidence may be fragile. Trying to overhaul everything at once can overwhelm you. But if you start small, one change, one routine, you create something you can sustain. That sustainability becomes trust in yourself, and that trust fuels recovery. Let's say you want to rebuild discipline. Start with a simple daily habit, waking up at the same time every morning. That single action trains your mind to commit. Or maybe you want to rebuild focus. Start by dedicating 10 minutes a day to learning something new. Those minutes may seem small, but they accumulate into hours of growth. The magic of habits is in their consistency, not their size. It's not about how much you do, it's about how often you show up. Even the smallest positive action, repeated daily, becomes powerful over time. Like drops of water wearing down a stone, habits shape who you become. When you repeat a behavior, your brain starts to automate it. It becomes easier, less energy-consuming. That's how habits create freedom. Once a good habit is automatic, it stops feeling like effort. You no longer fight to do the right thing. It becomes your nature. Habits also anchor your emotions. After a setback, your mind may swing between hope and fear. Stable habits give you a foundation to stand on. They remind you that progress is possible, even on hard days. For example, exercising regularly isn't just about health. It's about proving to yourself that you can follow through. Reading daily isn't just about knowledge. It's about consistency. There's another hidden benefit to habits. They build discipline, even when motivation fades. Motivation is temporary. It comes and goes. But habits stay. When you rely on motivation alone, you'll struggle to keep moving after a setback. But if you've built habits, they'll carry you through the tough days when motivation disappears. To form a habit, you need 3 elements: cue, routine, and reward. The cue is the trigger, something that reminds you to act. The routine is the behavior itself. The reward is the benefit your brain associates with it. For example, if your cue is morning sunlight, your routine might be journaling, and your reward could be mental clarity. Over time, your brain starts craving that clarity, and the habit sticks. But creating habits is only half the battle. You also have to replace bad ones. After a setback, old habits may tempt you. Comfort zones, distractions, procrastination. Breaking them requires awareness and redirection. You can't just remove a habit, you must replace it with something better. If you stop checking social media in the morning, replace that urge with reading something inspiring instead. Habits are not just about what you do, but also how you think. Negative thought loops, like self-doubt, fear, or guilt, are mental habits. They repeat automatically. To break them, you must introduce new patterns of thought. Replace "I failed" with "I'm learning." Replace "I can't" with "I'm improving." Over time, your brain rewires itself for resilience. Another powerful comeback habit is reflection. Taking time each day to evaluate what went right, what went wrong, and what you learned builds self-awareness. Reflection prevents you from making the same mistakes again and keeps your focus on growth instead of guilt. The environment around you also shapes your habits. If you want to change your life, change what surrounds you. Your physical space, your digital environment, your social circle, all influence behavior. Make it easier to do what's right and harder to fall back into what's wrong. Accountability accelerates habit building. When someone knows your goals, it becomes harder to quit. Share your habits with a trusted friend or mentor. Let them know what you're working on. Sometimes, the simple act of reporting progress keeps your momentum alive. You must also practice patience. Habits don't stick overnight. It takes time for repetition to turn into routine. The process can feel slow, but remember, every repetition is progress, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. Be kind to yourself while you grow. One mistake many people make is focusing on the outcome rather than the process. They measure success by results instead of consistency. But habits are about showing up, not perfection. When you show up enough times, the results take care of themselves. Let's imagine two people trying to make a comeback after failure. One person focuses on the big picture, the dream, the future success. The other focuses on habits, the daily actions. The second person wins. Why? Because dreams inspire, but habits execute. Habits make your comeback real. The key to sustainable habits is identity alignment. Don't just do a habit. Become the kind of person who does it. Don't say, "I'm trying to be disciplined." Say, "I'm a disciplined person." Your identity drives your behavior. When you change how you see yourself, your actions naturally follow. Habits also teach you emotional stability. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, you rebuild trust. That trust becomes self-confidence. You start believing that no matter how hard life hits, you can always rebuild because you've done it before, one small habit at a time. Recovery habits aren't just physical or behavioral, they're emotional too. Forgiveness, gratitude, and mindfulness are habits that heal the mind. Forgiveness frees you from the past. Gratitude trains you to see what's still good. Mindfulness keeps you in the present. These emotional habits create peace, which is vital for any comeback. Eventually, your habits compound into transformation. The same way bad habits once built your setbacks, new habits build your comeback. Every repetition strengthens your resilience muscle. You stop waiting for a miracle because you realize you're building one, brick by brick. When you look back months later, you'll see how far you've come. Not because of one big leap, but because of 1,000 small steps. That's the power of habits. They turn recovery into rebirth. Remember, your habits define your future more than any single event. Setbacks are temporary, but the habits you form afterward can last a lifetime. Each day is a chance to rewrite your story, one action at a time. So, as you move forward, choose habits that heal, habits that build, habits that strengthen your identity. Because your comeback isn't a moment, it's a collection of daily victories. Show up, repeat, grow. That's how you turn setbacks into success, one habit at a time. Chapter 10. Building emotional resilience for long-term success. When you face failure, heartbreak, or disappointment, your first instinct is often to fight or escape, but neither truly helps you recover. The real key to turning setbacks into comebacks is emotional resilience. The ability to stay calm, adapt, and rise, no matter how many times life pushes you down. Resilience isn't something you're born with, it's something you build, one challenge at a time. Emotional resilience is what allows you to bend without breaking. It's that quiet strength that keeps you grounded when everything around you feels uncertain. It doesn't mean you don't feel pain or sadness. It means you face them without letting them define you. Think of resilience like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Each time you recover from disappointment, every time you push through fear, every time you choose to keep going, you're training that muscle. Over time, it becomes part of who you are. Setbacks are life's way of testing that strength. They challenge your patience, your faith, and your self-belief. But if you respond with resilience, those same challenges become the training ground for your greatest growth. The foundation of emotional resilience starts with acceptance. You cannot move forward while resisting reality. Accepting your situation doesn't mean you like it or approve of it. It simply means you stop wasting energy fighting what already is. Once you accept it, your mind becomes free to find solutions instead of excuses. People often mistake resilience for toughness, but true resilience is flexibility. Toughness is like glass. It looks strong, but it shatters under too much pressure. Resilience is like bamboo. It bends, it sways, but it doesn't break. You don't have to be unbreakable, you just have to be adaptable. Another part of resilience is emotional awareness. You can't manage what you don't understand. When you name your emotions, fear, anger, sadness, guilt, you take back control. Emotions lose power when you bring them into the light. Instead of suppressing your feelings, acknowledge them. Say to yourself, I'm scared right now, or I'm disappointed. That awareness gives you the power to choose your response instead of reacting blindly. One of the biggest threats to resilience is negative self-talk. After a setback, it's easy to become your own worst critic. You replay mistakes, question your worth, and compare yourself to others. But resilience grows when you replace criticism with compassion. Talk to yourself the way you would talk to a close friend who is struggling. Kindness toward yourself is not weakness, it's self-repair. Resilience also depends on perspective. When something goes wrong, your mind naturally focuses on the pain. But the story you tell yourself about the setback shapes your reality. You can see it as an ending, or as a lesson. You can say, I failed, or I'm learning. That small shift in perspective changes everything. Your story determines your strength. Gratitude is another powerful builder of resilience. It sounds simple, but it's transformational. When life feels heavy, finding even one small thing to be grateful for lightens the load. Gratitude shifts your focus from what you lost to what remains. It reminds you that even in chaos there is still good. Each time you practice gratitude, you train your mind to see hope instead of despair. To build resilience, you must also learn the power of letting go. You cannot carry everything with you into your comeback. Let go of blame, bitterness, and regret. Holding on to them drains your energy. Forgiveness, whether for others or yourself, is freedom. It creates space for healing and growth. Support is another cornerstone of emotional resilience. No one is strong alone. Humans are wired for connection. After a setback, isolation feels natural. You want to hide your pain. But connection is what heals it. Surround yourself with people who lift you, listen to you, and remind you of your worth. A strong support system acts as an anchor during emotional storms. Resilience also grows from meaning. When you attach purpose to your pain, it transforms. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this teaching me? Purpose gives suffering direction. It turns your story from tragedy into transformation. Daily practices can strengthen resilience over time. Mindfulness, journaling, and meditation all help you stay centered. They teach you to observe your thoughts instead of being controlled by them. Even 5 minutes of quiet reflection each day can reset your emotions and build inner peace. Physical health plays a huge role too. Your body and mind are connected. Regular exercise, proper rest, and healthy food aren't just physical needs, they're emotional tools. Movement releases stress, rest restores clarity, and nutrition fuels balance. When your body is strong, your emotions become more stable. Another important piece of resilience is patience. After a setback, you want to recover fast. But healing doesn't follow a schedule. Progress can be slow, and that's okay. Resilience is not about speed, it's about endurance. The ability to keep going, even when the finish line isn't in sight, is what defines long-term success. Faith, whether spiritual or simply faith in yourself, strengthens emotional resilience. Believing that life still has good things ahead, even when you can't see them, gives you courage to keep moving. Faith is the voice inside that says, this is not how my story ends. Self-discipline also supports emotional strength. It keeps your emotions from controlling your decisions. When things get hard, discipline reminds you to act from values, not feelings. It helps you stay calm in chaos. Emotional resilience isn't about never feeling broken. It's about choosing not to stay broken. One of the most powerful signs of resilience is the ability to bounce forward, not just back. Bouncing back means returning to who you were. Bouncing forward means growing into someone stronger than before. Every challenge changes you. Resilience ensures that change makes you wiser. Resilient people also set boundaries. They protect their peace. They know when to say no, when to rest, and when to step away. Boundaries are not walls, they are gates. They allow in what's healthy and keep out what's harmful. Without boundaries, you lose energy to things that don't matter, leaving less strength for what does. A comeback fueled by resilience doesn't just rebuild, it redefines. You begin to see that failure wasn't a dead end, it was a detour. You realize that what once broke you actually prepared you. Pain becomes a teacher, not a punishment. Emotional resilience helps you respond to life's storms with calm rather than panic. It helps you see challenges as temporary. It keeps your focus on what you can control, your attitude, your effort, your choices. Everything else is noise. When you master emotional resilience, your confidence shifts from external validation to internal stability. You stop needing everything to go right to feel okay. You learn that no matter what happens, you can handle it. That kind of inner peace is unshakable. And here's the truth. Emotional resilience doesn't make life easier. It makes you stronger. It turns uncertainty into adventure, chaos into creativity, and pain into progress. It's the silent force behind every great comeback story. So, when you find yourself standing in the ruins of something you once believed in, don't rush the rebuild. Stand tall, breathe, accept where you are. Feel what you feel. Then, start small. Focus on your next step. Each day you move forward, your resilience grows. With time, you'll look back and realize that what once felt impossible became the foundation for a new, stronger version of yourself. That is the power of emotional resilience. It doesn't just help you survive, it helps you thrive. Keep standing. Keep learning. Keep believing. Because emotional resilience doesn't just help you recover, it ensures your comeback lasts a lifetime.